speed tubes? Anybody? All right, speed tube, not only does it carry the seed
affect our yield. So we went out and at 10 miles per hour,
I'm here at the Whayne Supply field day. Back in the spring, we were out at this field seeing this white 9800 VE central fill planter running at 10 miles per hour. I'm here with John Conroy, an AGCO product specialist. John, what can you tell us about this planter? What advantages are we going to see out in the field when we actually look at the standing crop?
16-row unit. It is narrow transport. We do have V-set precision planting. We do have V-apply. The clean sweeps that are the air drive system for constant ground contact. We do have the Delta Downforce and speed tube. Speed tube will place the seed at exact location at up to 10 miles an hour, which we did plant a couple passes at 10. Generally speaking, the field was planted at about 6 to 7 miles per hour.
Well, I'm looking forward to going out there and showing our viewers exactly what this planter is capable of. I'm here with Justin Jones from my local AGCO dealer, Whayne Supply, that covers Western Kentucky. And Justin's always nice to invite me out to the field days to see equipment. I had a chance to see the planting of this field with a high-speed white 9800 VE planter. Justin, what are we doing here today and taking a look at?
Hey, as I said, he came out whenever we planted. We planted from 1 inch to 3.5 inch depth on half-inch increments. We did heavy downforce, light downforce to just right downforce. We did 5 mile an hour tests. We did 10 mile an hour tests. We did singulation tests. We also looked at the advantages of using air raised row cleaners as well. We're going to look to see what yield actually is and what the advantage to each is, and where we're feeling as an industry on planting corn.
Well, it's exciting. I enjoy seeing the big equipment, and it's cool seeing a tractor go 10 miles per hour, putting lines in the ground. But now we actually get to see what's coming up from that line, and I think people are going to be pretty impressed.
I hope so. We've put a lot of time and energy into it. Let's go into the field and see what we got.
Sounds good. We'll head in there and see the different stations. I'm here with Nick from Whayne Supply, and we rode along with Nick and the tractor back in the spring planting this crop, and now we're going to talk about the results of the downforce and take a look at the ears of corn, the roots, and see what the stands are like.
All right. So guys, on this test that we did right here, we made 3 different passes. We did a 2-minute manual setting of 50 pounds for light, 500 pounds for heavy, and then we got a pass down here that's an automatic pass that we set the margin at 110. So that's normally where we'd be in our normal corn planting situation. So what we found, the 2 outside here are light. So we made a decent stalk. Root size is average. So this is probably what we expected to see. It probably had a little more to advantage because of all the moisture we had early in the spring, but still it's not too bad. We're gonna move here to the center. This is our heavy pass. So stalk size, as you can see, is much different from the light. Extremely different from the automatic. But the root development here is the big thing. We didn't make a very good root ball, and our crown root there literally came out and we got a hatchet root. It just took a right and started running down the seed trench. So, and then we get to our automatic passes, which are these 2 plants here, and this is the root ball that we made. So quite a bit bigger, quite a lot more roots. A lot better robust stalk. We're going to stand up better in the late season with these, and we made a little bit better ear. So on the 2 we pulled, you had one 16 round and 32 long, and one 14 round and 30 long, and we ended up with about a 29,000 population. So that brings us, I think that one was 168 on the light. On the heavy, we did this one here. These both were 14 rounds and they were 30 long, so we were about 150 something in that one, in my best memory. And then on these 2, we actually had quite a few 18 rounds and 16 rounds at 36 inches long, and we're guessing this is going to go about 208.
That's impressive. I know, when you're driving by on the road, all the corn looks the same, or even if you take a drone up and look at it, but It's really impressive to see the differences, especially when you set the planter up to not have the best results to show this difference. And that's definitely a healthy plant to the left.
So, yeah, we're definitely going to want this one to stand up a little later this spring, seeing how planting took so long. We're probably going to have some of this corn stand for a while. So, we just made a lot better stalk. We got a lot more root ball. We collected a lot more nutrients, and we should see it when we put the combine in it this fall.
I'm looking forward to seeing that harvest day. Well, Nick, thanks a lot for the information, and we'll see the other stations and the results.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'm here with Keith from Whayne Supply, and we're going to take a look at depth and closure and the results of that. We just talked about downforce, how much pressure is put on getting the seed in the ground, but now we're going to see the result of where you want to place that seed once it gets there.
Today we've got our plot here, and we started out with 1 inch depth, and we went all the way up to 3 inch depth in half inch increments. What we're trying to do here is to show how depth is correlated to the yield on the plot. One of the things that we did is we took the plants here after we dug them up, cleaned them off, and what we're trying to do here is find the cotyledon to find out what the depth actually was of this plant. This here was our inch depth. Yeah, the cotyledon is actually the original seed. It is here, and it's attached to the mesocotyl here, and what it does, it actually will tell you how deep the plant is in. Corn being repetitive, from the crown root to the top of the ground is always 3/4 of an inch. So you take that and measure that, and that'll give you what your depth is.
So it's, I know you always hear like you want to plant it like a picket fence, but now it's you want to photocopy that picket fence all the way across the field.
Yes, you want the consistency, and the biggest reason for that is to keep the seed in the moisture. So as the season goes on, typically what happens is it dries out, so you want to go a little bit deeper as you go on and planting. Early in the season, you'll start out a little shallower because the temperature is warmer, the ground temp's warmer, and then you'll get better germination. What we also want with the depth is we want all of our seed to come up at the same time. We want it to come up within a 24 to 48 hour period. If it doesn't come up within that period, we'll have late emergence, and that then is actually just basically a weed. All it's doing is taking nutrients from the soil that another plant could be using. So,
and I think we'll just turn around real quick. I'll show people this is what you talk about as a weed. You get that really late emergence, and it just looks like tall Johnson grass almost compared to these thick stalks. And you can see it has just a tiny ear, but it's taking away from the yield of this ear here. And then Keith has got a sample ear here. There's basically nothing there compared to these larger ears that you want to be putting through the combine.
Okay, we did some sampling of yield data here today, and what we found out was our 1 inch depth is actually running about 183 bushel an acre. Our 2 inch depth is running about 191 bushel an acre, and then our 3 inch depth is running 122 feet, or 22 bushel an acre.
So we can look down here, they've got signs showing where each depth was from extremely deep to extremely shallow, and I guess we can kind of see the results here on the table of what you collected from these plants.
Yeah, and one of the very interesting things is when we done our stand counts to come up with our population, the 1 inch was roughly 26,000 population, the 2 inch was 28,000, and then our 3 inch was at 18,000. So just because of the slower germination, we also had a little bit of an issue with after we planted, it got really cool at night and during the day. It didn't for a full week, and what happened was the seed was growing towards the heat, and the ground was warmer than the air temperature.
So especially that 3 inch, then it's really using all of its energy, and it's headed the wrong way.
It's headed the wrong way. Yes, exactly. So, and that shows of how much depth can contribute to yield in a field.
Now that's also something this planter does for you automatically that helps you maintain the depth that you desired depth.
We have product now what's called a smart firmer, The Smart Farmer does monitors moisture, temperature, and organic matter. So you can get a real-time picture of what is happening in your field as you're planting. This allows you to make immediate adjustments just due to those different parameters. So you may start out shallow in the morning and have to go deeper during the afternoon.
Well, that's really handy to know exactly what's happening, so you're not finding out whether you have an ear like this out in the field or something a little bit healthier.
Exactly.
It's nice to have that knowledge up front, what happened when it went in. And I guess you have a map here of the field. What is, I guess, the difference between the orange and the green? And
this was on our turn rate compensation. When the turn rate compensation was on, it had our populations were good. When we turned it off in the turn, it actually dropped because the planter's it's not speeding up as we're making a turn.
Okay, so you're getting a different seed placement from row 1 to row 16.
Yes.
And then what are the orange dots out here in the green?
Those are going to be your skips or your doubles or something. It was just a misplant.
Sure. And I know in another station we'll take a look at, you purposely set up some row units to be doing doubles and skips to show the difference.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much for this review, and look forward to seeing the next station here.
All right.
I'm here with Justin at the third station. We've looked at downforce, depth, and now we're going to look at the speed technology that gets this corn in the ground accurately at 10 miles per hour. And you guys also set up some failure rows to show what happens if you have doubles or skips, and I think it's pretty interesting to take a look at the results from a wide spectrum of options on this planter.
Absolutely. What we're going to look at today is we've planted some 5 mile an hour and as well some 10 mile an hour. In all those passes, we put seed disc in. In these seed discs, we have put design fells in it. So here, we have blanked out to where seeds won't plant. You go 180, we have rifle drilled in 180 apart to where we have a known double.
So that'll put 2 seeds in right there side by side.
At every turn. Well, every turn we'll have 2 sets of doubles, 2 sets of skips. Back to the maps that Keith was showing us earlier. Of course, below here and above is our typical. That's what we're shooting for day in, day out. But with these plates in, you can see and follow the doubles and the skips that we have introduced into this.
And that was really impressive in the spring riding in the tractor to actually see where every seed is landing and how it is and where it's painted.
Absolutely. And this tractor and drill setup is very, very comfortable at 7.5 mile an hour. It's not stressing. I've actually got some video footage of it. But at 7.5 mile an hour, we were able to hold 99.9 to 100% seed placement continuously. Not only does the meters have a large effect on that, but that planter has speed tubes. These are the speed. This is a used speed tube out of that planter. Has about 550 acres on the whole planter, not this tube, but the whole planter. The speed tube has 2 purposes in life. Everybody thinks it is just pushing the seed down and getting it to where it's supposed to be quicker. That's not right. This speed tube speeds up, slows down as the tractor does. So anything below 6 mile an hour, when the seed drops in here, of course this is helping simulate. Pull it the right direction, it'll pull it through. The seed will drop into the gap and it will ride this conveyor all the way down to where it drops out here. Again, this is going the same speed as what your tractor is. So it eliminates your bounce, and whenever it comes out of this, it's falling straight down and has 0 movement forward to backwards. So that's below 6 mile an hour is riding. So when you get over...
And that's kind of where a lot of planters are today. Most people are going 5-6 miles per hour.
Most guys are living in that 4.5 to 6 mile an hour. That's where their performance is. But when you get over 6 mile an hour, that seed, it still comes through the channel, but it never falls to this lower portion of the belt. Gravity is not strong enough to pull it down that fast, so this paddle actually becomes a pusher, and it is pushing that seed down to where it's running the same speed as the tractor whenever it drops out from underneath.
When it drops 6 miles per hour, it's sitting on there, but at the high speed 10, this paddle's actually pushing it. It's staying up on top of it there.
Yes, at 6.1 mile an hour, it starts pushing. 6 mile an hour and below, it's riding. So that's controlling our seed descent. So what we did at the stations today is we would have the guys, and we'll walk up here to the 10 mile an hour. Let's walk up here.
And while we're walking, I mean, I can imagine, 2019 was probably the wettest year on record for most of the country.
Oh,
and every time a field got nearly dry enough, I went up and filmed in Illinois where they were offset disking, harrowing. It took them all day and like 6 passes to try to dry a field, and it started raining as they planted. So if you can go 10 miles per hour, that's that many more acres planted.
For every day
between that next rain shower.
Yes, and we really were stressed on getting this field in. We were able to plant on May the 8th. 3 days after, so that'd be May the 11th, we had a very large cold front come in, and the high temperatures went from being in the mid 80s down into the 60s, where the lows were dropping into the high 30s, low 40s every night. And as you're walking through the rows, you're going to see some spots that look like a skip if you don't understand what's going on with the corn. We came out here and the corn was just coming through and we were seeing skips. We got to digging and we were seeing ambitional chilling going on in this field. And ambitional chilling is where the seed sprouts, but it is growing crossways of the row or with the ground, or it's growing straight down. It's growing to the heat side. So that's really has had an effect on the yield stance of this. At that time, when we were measuring out, we'd measure out 17.5 feet, or 17 feet 5 inches, which is 1/1000th of an acre. We were doing stand counts, and the stand counts was coming between 29,000 to 30,000. It was too good of a stand to disc up over ambitional chilling, so we're having a few more skips out here than what.
Sure, but I guess
the planter. But
the nice thing is when you look at that map, you know where every seed is. So when you're looking, you can see where that chill effect happened because you say, "Well, I know there's a seed there."
Absolutely, and we definitely cannot control Mother Nature.
No, that's I know people from coast to coast this year. I think would like to be able to do that.
Absolutely, and won't make the claim to do that. But what we did today, again, this is our 10 mile an hour. Where we just came from was 5 mile an hour. So when we planted, we were going that way at 5 mile an hour. And when we returned and crossed this line, I can attest we were running a true 10 mile an hour at this point. This row here and this row has the introduced skips off those seed plates. So what we ended up doing today is we would measure out 17 feet 5 inches. We would count how many stalks, and then we would count how many harvestable ears they were.
So you've got, this one has 2, but your main focus is you got the full large one here, and this is more of a secondary one that's not going to have too much in it.
We wouldn't count this as an ear because the second number we would count was the harvestable ear. Get that silk to pull back. There we go. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, it's not a very strong cob either.
No, not very strong. There's not much there, so we would not count that as a harvestable ear. So we would measure that, and then we would randomly pull off 5 ears. And this is just off of one that we did. So 10 mile an hour with our skip and our doubles. Here are the round counts and length of 5 random ears. And it was truly random. So it came out to an average of 491. So we're saying that on an average, every cob would have 491 kernels on it. On the stand count where we had the skips and the doubles, we had 26 harvestable ears. So again, we were measuring 17 foot 5 inches, 1/1000th of an acre. Multiply that out by 1,000. That number times how many kernels per ear. Divide it by 85,000. 85,000 is the average seed size per bushel of corn. So we were coming up to 134 bushel. Again, that's where our skips and our doubles were introduced. And we did this with every station. Then we would go over 2 rows and do this at 10 mile an hour normal, exact same math, and we were coming out at 173. Which, hey, 173 is all good and great. Everybody wanted to know what 5 mile an hour was versus 10 mile an hour. This one, we went over to 10 mile an hour, went to a normal, and it was ranging 182. The best one we had was 2 bushel difference. The worst one is this one, which was, right at 11 bushel. But when you look at 11 bushel an acre versus being able to plant twice as much in a day, even looking at the worst side, is it still worth it?
Right.
On years like this year?
And a year like this where there's a lot of ground sitting out there on prevented plant, you have no bushels. So it might be better to be down a little bit to have gotten it in.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not sitting out here saying everybody needs to plant at 10 mile an hour, but I will say that with our setup, 7.5 mile an hour with that tractor, that planter, everything is running smooth. There is 0 yield drag from going from 5 mile an hour to 7.5, although I do think there is a little bit at 10.
Well, that's pretty good. Now, I guess remind us, I've got the footage. I was out here roading the tractor. I can verify 10 miles per hour, the 7.5. So what tractor will we running on that 9800 VE?
Okay, we're running a 2019 1038 Challenger. And one misconception, the machine we were running was a single pump machine. So we will have to run our engine RPMs up around 1450 to 1500 RPM to keep the hydraulic flow up. But that was a single pump, which is 58 gallon per minute. The 1042 we have up front today is a double pump, which is rated for 113 gallon per minute. You work it mathematically backwards, we can pull this planter with that tractor at around 1150 engine RPM, again saving you guys money on fuel consumption.
Absolutely. I have to say, I've ridden in a lot of tractors, and these AGCO 1000 series Fendt Challenger, they're impressive. They don't use a lot of fuel. You can cover a lot of ground pretty seamlessly.
And not only that, they've got horsepower that most front wheel assists cannot fail.
Yep, and weight them up to 50,000 pounds, where some of the 9Rs and Steigers out there go to 48, 47,000 pounds, and it's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
So I guess our next step is going to be, we're going to return to this field and see it harvested.
Absolutely. We'll be bringing a combine back. It will have a complete ag leader system on it. I'll put the results on our Whayne Facebook page to where you can see what the yield is, and I'll have it marked on there which, is this 1 inch, is this 1.5 inches, is this 2 inches, is this 5 mile an hour, is this 10 mile an hour, and mark what we've done. That way you guys can track the yield as we get the real results instead of guesstimations.
Sure. Well, that'll be exciting to see. I hope to be here myself to see that combine run down these rows, and we'll definitely link that Facebook account in there so you can see the results.
Sounds great. I'll be sure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
I hope you've enjoyed spending time at the 2019 AGCO Crop Tour hosted by Whayne Supply in Western Kentucky. I'm looking forward to returning to this same field in just a few weeks to see the combine harvesting the corn and see the final results from the AGCO WHITE 9800 VE planters 10 mile per hour passes. I also was able to film the tractor and planter working in this field in the spring, and it's a 2-part series that talks about the capabilities of the planter as well as its specifications and pricing, and I will link part 1 and part 2 of that planning series in the description area of this video. If you would like to see more videos like this one, I hope you'll consider subscribing to Big Tractor Power YouTube, where there are over 1,000 videos of farm machines in action. If you have any questions or thoughts about this video, please leave them in the comment section below as I try to respond to every post that is made. If you would like to get a preview of what is coming up next on Big Tractor Power YouTube, make sure to check out Big Tractor Power Instagram, where I share pictures and short video clips of what is currently being filmed in the field. As always, thank you for watching.